very good. So welcome today, Ben Moorhouse from our bookshop in Tring, Fiona Veitch Smith. I'm not quite sure where you are, Fiona.
I'm in Newcastle.
You're in Newcastle, who's come to talk to us about a Crime Writers in Residence programme that she's doing with the CWA. She's also an author of the Poppy Denby series, and the brilliant Amanda Jennings, author of, I'm counting about, is that 5 or 6 books, including the...
Well, number 5 coming out in July.
Right, okay. And her current one that's out is Cliff House, and The Storm's coming out in July, isn't it?
Storm's coming out in July.
If July is July, we don't...
July happens, who knows?
I'm going to move you all into Dallas format because it's easier to bring the comments up on here. So welcome, everybody. Hi, Susan. Hi, Sven from Hamburg. Hi, Pippa. I always seem to get 2 Pippas when she arrived. Hi, Tim, and Keith. All regular people, please. Thank you so much for coming around. I'm going to start with talking a little bit about Ben, because Ben's very kindly agreed to take a bit of a minute out from his bookshop, because bizarrely enough, you run a bookshop and you're busy. How are you keeping busy at the moment, Ben?
I only opened the shop in September, so my timing is impeccable. The community Tring has been without a bookshop for 10 years. The previous one closed down kind of by the impact of Amazon, frankly. I think there are other reasons. I think maybe there's some bad business by whoever was running it. But fundamentally, it was part of what was that kind of original cull that Amazon caused, really, in its first 10, 15 years or so. Mm-hmm. So the town kind of, it crept up on them without them knowing, and they kind of lost the shop. And so as a result, I've been part of the community for nearly 25 years, and I organise a comedy festival here. I know the community really well, and I know they're very literate. They're very, frankly, home counties, northern home counties, reasonably wealthy as well. And it's no bookshop seemed like an utter shock to me when I kind of gave it some thought. But actually, the first thought I had was starting a book festival. So last November, we had the first Tring Book Festival. And it was in the process of organising that it really occurred, I've just got to go for it, frankly, and open an indie bookshop. And the response has been amazing. And I get so many calls, so many emails from the community saying, how are you doing? There's no way we want to lose you. We need you to be here. I mean, it's quite emotional, really, receiving all these calls. And, I furloughed the rest of the staff until today, actually. Alison has come back on board today, mainly because gardeners have come back online with bulk orders. I don't know if you... I'm not sure if you...
Can you explain that to people? Because a lot of people don't really understand how the book trade works. What is gardeners?
So gardeners are the sort of the main wholesaler. There are other wholesalers. You can get books from publishers. You can get books from... there are other wholesalers like Bertram's and stuff. But gardeners are sort of the one that people are opting for at the moment. And a month and a bit ago, they obviously had to do social distancing in the warehouse. They couldn't then do bulk delivery of books, so we had to resort. They stopped entirely for about 3 or 4 days, and there was like a moment like, oh Christ, what do we do? And then I was quite well stocked in what is a fairly small shop, but there's no way we could have carried on. And then about 4 days later, they turned around and said, do you know what we're going to do? We're going to do single book orders. So if you want a book, if a customer wants a book, I don't know, Lucy Foley or something, we'll let you order that, but you've got to pay the postage as well. So, that would be £2.80 on top of what is a fairly tight margin anyway. So frankly, that was enough. I mean, that was, who are we to complain? We're in a nightmare situation. So I furloughed everyone except for me, and I just carried on taking orders. And frankly, if I sold a copy of Hunting Party by Lucy Foley, I'd probably make 60p. And that's not workable as a business, Frank. And so, it was more important that I kept the audience and the customers warm and kept them receiving goods from the shop, and actually they all understood the problems. And I was very open about the fact that there were problems within the book industry, and clearly there's problems everywhere, frankly. So, and then yesterday, out of the blue, gardeners said we're good, we're back online with bulk orders,
Yeah.
albeit we're going to be probably 24 hours slower. So
Right.
that immediately, given that the timing was perfect because it's 1st of May, so I furloughed Alison up to last night, and then she's back on board. So it's kind of worked. I trust gardeners were thinking about that actually in the process. So
I'm
I'm
sure they
feeling
were.
fairly optimistic. This morning I did a big kind of e-shot to my database, and keep in mind I had a festival in November, so I've got a couple of thousand and a database of a couple of thousand plus a very healthy social media platform or two, and we have been inundated. Honestly, today has been manic. There's still emails I haven't read. It's and I've literally only 20 minutes ago got back from delivering on my bike. My bike's leaning up over there.
Can I say that? I'm just gonna bump somebody. I'm gonna bump you temporarily there, Fiona, just because I want to show this photograph. Here we go. Here is the bike. Look at that. Magnificent.
It's actually not the same bike now, but yeah.
Oh, it's not the same bike. Oh, my God.
A friend was selling off a better second-hand, a better bike. So that's actually my wife's bike you see in that picture. So, you've got the picture of me delivering down the Grand Union Canal.
Fantastic. I'm gonna get rid of that and bring back Fiona.
The Chilterns
and I
are
think
very.
Writers now at this point we ought to formally salute you and bow down before booksellers.
Thank you.
Booksellers, honestly, it's brilliant. I think there is great goodwill about this because it's not just us, obviously, that want it. Booksellers are holding everything to, they are part of a community hub. That's why people welcome you back in Tring, presumably. Bookshops, I think we're going to figure out through this thing where we lose lots of the high street. Bookshops are kind of important, aren't they?
Yes.
Yeah. Can I ask a question then? About I've just seen that in Italy, bookshops were some of the first shops that were allowed to reopen again. I don't know if you've noticed that.
I heard something, but I didn't know whether that was true. But is that the case?
Apparently, and in Milan as well. They're just busy opening bookshops and museums. And libraries. We should all move to Milan. Isn't it brilliant? But I'm wondering, what have you heard about where you fall? They haven't given any specifics yet, obviously. But where have you? What's the rumor about where bookshops might fall in the rollout of the reopening?
I have to say, every Wednesday the Booksellers Association hosts a little Facebook a Zoom thing for all independent bookshop owners, and I'm sure they might have heard something from that in that. I didn't make that meeting, sadly, so I have to say I'm just getting on with it. I don't really. The chances of us actually opening, I think, are unlikely. Certainly for the next 2-3 weeks, I would have thought. But I can understand the idea of opening, but obviously then having some sort of queue system or having I've heard of other shops doing like an allotted time where you can give people a 10-minute period in the shop to have a little hunt, and they book a time in, which seems. That could possibly be workable, but it's strikingly complicated. But
a bit stressful for the browser as well, as the clock's ticking down.
I can imagine. So I'm actually feeling relatively okay with the status quo now that gardeners are back online. That was gardeners being offline was the biggest threat to us. I have no doubt that I'll be selling books and cycling around Tring for the next month or two, and that will generate enough business. Frankly, until the end of June, when the furloughing ends at the moment. So I think that will be fine. I would add that not all bookshops are in the same lucky boat, and I know indie bookshops all over the country need to be supported. And those shops have been around a long time. Perhaps people take them slightly more for granted, which is a risk.
How do people order stuff online from you? I think that's the most important thing because we need to pass that on now.
So I kind of there's a company who do online book selling pretty well. So I didn't really want to compete with them in any shape or form. And I think for me, it's all about the human touch, the community element to it. And I think that's the only way I can compete and beat that rather large competitor, the name I can't mention. And so in the end, people want to know what I've got. So all I did right at the start of this thing was get my website developer, to just build a little engine with a database of what I've got in the shop, so people can go onto the website and just search for authors, or search for book titles, or search for anything, and see if we've got it. And if we haven't got it, there's a form there that says, well, we can still order it for you anyway. So it's just a little bit of interactivity that frankly has worked really well. It's actually that's enough. I actually come from a marketing background with a focus on web development. I started in the 90s in what was called new media, and so I sort of, not doing the website was sort of alien to my existence. But
I was asking for the URL, but I managed to find it first. That was it.
Oh, well done.
That's not right, actually. Apologies.
Oh, is it not? Is that
that's going to be the new. There's only 2 R bookshops in the world.
And that's the other one. Oh my God, it is as well. Quickly then.
One's in New York. And so that the one in New York's going to get lots of business. Well,
they'd love the business.
Quick, give me the right one.
Forget what you've seen. Forget what you've seen.
When I started, the whole thing was about the festival. So the website is Tring Book Festival.
Excellent.
So actually, and then it's /bookshop, but you'll get there if you put Tring Book Festival .co.uk. And
if I spell that
I probably should have a bookshop website, but yeah.
I apologise for that, but obviously lucky people somewhere out in America.
There we go. There we go.
Yes.
Amanda, how are you doing? How have you found lockdown?
Okay, I think. I feel a bit pathetic saying this. I'm not finding writing very easy. Mind you, I don't find it very easy anyway. Easily distracted. But yeah, I mean, it's okay. I think I've probably I'm one of those horrendous people that likes hugging other people. So I'm feeling a bit like I could do with being released, so I can go and hug strangers in post office queues and talk to people in supermarkets and generally be weird again. But I think I'm lucky because I've got 3 daughters and they're all here with me, and my eldest daughter's boyfriend's here as well. So we've got quite a nice house full, which is good. So,
which is interesting. I mean, like you in both the Cliff House and In Her Wake are kind of about families and dysfunction and all that sort of stuff in beautiful places. I presume the Storm is the Storm also about families having a hard time, because you come from a very functional family, but you write about these ones that are kind of.
Or so you think, William. My functional family. I used to sort of not talk about the family. I used to think it was, in the sort of books 1 and 2, I sort of just thought, but there's, now 5 books in, and the one that I'm writing now, I mean, there's just no escaping the fact that I do find family units very, very, very interesting. I think it's for me, it's perfect, festering sort of petri dish of life, where you get sort of secrets that cause rifts, but also you still got the blood ties, which means you're always linked to those people. Whatever happens, you don't sort of ever really truly cut the ties. So I think I think if you're looking, I love a dark story, as you know, but I think if you put maybe a group of friends through some of the situations that I put them in, you'd probably just say that, putting 2 fingers up and walking away from the relationship forever. Whereas I think when you've got a family, as I said, you are tied. So you have to work through it. You can't choose. You can choose your friends, but not your family. And that's sort of where I am.
And you claimed a bit of territory, really, because your last 2 books, I think the last 2 were set in Cornwall, which is where your mother's from.
Yeah.
Is the Storm also in the peninsula?
Yeah.
It is. Excellent.
Storm. So we've got In Her Wake, which was Zena and St Ives, and then the Cliff House, which was St Just and Sennan and Cape Cornwall, and then I've moved a little bit further south, but not far, to Newlyn and Penzance for the Storm. And then the one I'm writing now, which is work in progress, is set in Bodmin. I've left the sea because I couldn't bear to write any more crushing waves. I've got all the sea descriptions I can get out there. So I've now gone to the dark and brooding more. But yeah, I'm in Cornwall for a bit. I do love it.
And the Storm, which has had some brilliant, Adele Parks and
Yeah, I've been very lucky.
Who else to say so? Lisa Jewell have also said fantastic things about it before it's out. It's out in July, is it?
Yeah, so it's just started going out, which is always nerve-wracking. I'm not one of these authors that, well, actually, I don't know an author who does enjoy this bit. I mean, it's always lovely to have the good feedback, but you are still on tenterhooks and always really worried about how it's going to be received. I'm one of those people that takes probably between 18 and 20 months to write a book. So I'm with this book for a long time before it goes out. And I think it's always terrifying. But yeah, no, lots of, Lisa was very lovely and said best book yet. But then,
Chris on malevolent and gripping as well.
Well, it is all, well, I don't know if it's the gripping but it's definitely malevolent. I do like this one is done. This one's got coercive control in it, and it's a subject that I do actually quite. There's always a little bit of elements of characters that have more control over others in previous books, but this is full on coercive control and asking that you often hear in relationships which have some sort of abusive relationships or coercive control, you often have that question of why did she stay, and that for me was the question I wanted to ask, which is why did she stay, and there is a reason.
Right, very good, very good. Fiona, I wanted you to talk about the thing that the Crime Writers Association are doing, but let's first talk a little bit about your books. You've set a whole lot of books in the 1920s, Poppy Denby mysteries. Now, 1920s, great time for women.
Fabulous time. That's one of the main issues I deal with in the book. The first book in the series actually is just at the end of the Spanish flu.
Right.
And there's quite a lot in there it's just the year after the Spanish flu has finished and everyone's terrified that it's about to start again. And so there's a bit of a synergy at the moment with what's going on. But apart from that, it's actually quite lovely to escape back into the 1920s, a bit of a relief from what's going on.
I've got a horrible feeling that historical crime is going to do quite well. Having abandoned my historical crime series, I think people are going to want to be in the past quite a lot at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. When the Spanish flu is, as long as we don't have Spanish flu, anything else will be fine. But it's been quite a relief for me. I didn't think I'd be able to write Amanda, but I am, and I think it's because it's such a release. At the moment, Poppy's in 1925, and she's busy reading Mari Stopes's sex manual of the 1920s, which was called Married Love, which is very risque for the period, but certainly not for now. But it's such a delight to be able to just slip into that and think, oh, thank God, what a simpler, easier time on one level. And then on the other level, of course, it's so similar to our own with the building tensions towards the 1929 crash that we're all heading towards once again. So there's a lot of similarities in the periods, but it's nice to escape there now and then.
I think you are right about that historical becoming more popular, both of you, because I think, I don't know about you, William, if what you're writing at the moment, mine was set in 2021, because that was when the new book 6 will be coming out, and I suddenly realised I had absolutely no idea what the shape of 2021 would look like. So I sort of thought, well, either I can change my story or wait to see what happens or write something sort of speculative, or not speculative, dystopian or utopian, either one. Or I can do the brave thing and change the date to February 2019, which is what I did.
There's a lot of that going on. But I think, to be honest, I think it's a real existential moment for crime fiction, because one of the things that's made crime fiction the most powerful form at the moment is because of the way it engages with real things.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And this is a really difficult thing to engage with, and we don't know what it is yet.
We don't know what we're looking at, and it would be lovely if, I mean, in a way, probably Fiona has a little bit of an idea, because you've been obviously looking at Spanish flu, so I imagine you are aware of some of the changes that kicked in. But really, none of us know. I mean, even the people on the front line don't know what they're dealing with or how to face it or battle it. So how writers are supposed to reference it is, nigh impossible, I think.
So I would just want to urge everybody who's watching, and everybody who'll watch the video that over the next few days, you see that little thing that now I've got the right, I think that is the right URL. One of these books by Fiona or by Amanda, you have to go and order them from our bookshop. That would all make sense at that point. I know that Ben's really focused on the local community, but right now we're all a bit local, quite frankly. But you also responded to this whole idea of what's going on at COVID-19, because we've all had to change what we do. Fiona, can you tell me a little bit about the Crime Writers in Residence programme? And but first, before you do, I'm going to just bounce you all out one at a time. This might take a little while. I'm going to put them in the green room for a second.
Bye.
Show a little video. It'll take a little time. There'll be lots of, don't get too dizzy as you whiz around. Hold on. Hide.
Hi, welcome to another of the Crime Readers at Home sessions. Now this is my study where I normally work when we're not in lockdown. I'm very fortunate to have a south-facing garden. Actually, the curtains are closed right now because we wouldn't get a very good video. The sun is streaming through. Unfortunately, my husband has laid claim to this at the moment because he's a lawyer and he needs the quiet time to do a lot of document work and conference calls. While I homeschool the children downstairs. Our boys are quite young, they're 9 and 11, so they need my supervision. It's a bit frustrating not being able to knuckle down to write properly at the moment, but I'm not too worried. I've written 4 other books which are currently...
Oh, that's better.
Oh, I can hear Ben. I can't hear Will.
Should we take over?
Yeah, let's take over. Do you want another cup of coffee, Ben?
That Will's a bit of a plonker, isn't he?
I can see your shoulder, Ben. That's about it. Give me the cold
really?
shoulder, are you?
Which side am I going?
No, there you are.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Amanda can hear you. Will?
Good.
We can't hear Will.
No. Oh.
He's turned himself off.
In a minute, I will take the interviewer's microphone, which is my preferred spot anyway.
Now.
There we go.
Yes, that video, that was Alex Chowdhury, A.A. Chowdhury. You didn't play it all, obviously, but you get the idea. When the May is National Crime Reading Month. Let me get this correct. National Crime Reading Month. And for the last few years, the Crime Writers Association has supported libraries, bookshops, festivals around the country during May, the month of May, to be crime focused, to get viewers in, to get customers in, to get readers in, and to all be focused on crime. And we had loads of events lined up, which of course all had to be cancelled. And we were looking for something to replace that. In addition, we know that we had quite a few members who were having books coming out in March, April, May, that everything had to be cancelled around that as well. They had book launches, festivals, and as we all know, when your book first comes out, those first 3 months are crucial for sales. And so we just talking to some of our members, we had a real sense of, well, I think sadness, actually. Sadness was the dominant emotion, that everything that they'd worked towards, this big event, wasn't going to happen. And we got together at the CWA and had a little bit of a chat, and we thought, we've got to try to do something, you know, what can we do? So what do we have? Our loaves and fishes, if you like, that we could bring were the platforms, our digital platforms that we have. We thought, what can we do to serve our members in the crime writing community? And also to fill the gap that's been left by us not doing National Crime Reading Month anymore. And we came up with this idea of Crime Writers in Residence, which is a play on the writers in residence theme that we all know about. And we thought that we could perhaps have writers shooting a video of themselves in the place that they write and talking just for 3 to 5 minutes about what it's like for them in lockdown, what they're doing, talk a little bit about their own books, but also we wanted to have a collegiate atmosphere, and we asked every participant to recommend another crime writer in it. So all of the videos so far, I think we've got 12 up so far, 10 or 12, with more coming online. We're having 2 or 3 every week. I'll give you the URL in a second, Will. And all of them will talk about their own books, how they're coping under lockdown, and also recommending someone else's book. And it might be something that we continue with because it's been so popular. We've had loads of people contacting us and sending in videos, and those who are tech shy have had an opportunity to just answer a written Q&A, which we've also put on the website. So can I give you the URL?
Yeah, you can. I might get it wrong like I normally do.
You might, but you might not. But if you, just in case, it's crimereadingmonth.co.uk, all one word, crimereadingmonth.co.uk. And if you go on there, there will be a whole lot of videos interspersed with written questions and answers about crime writers in lockdown, really. And we've got, can I mention one more initiative we've got? Then we got excited because so many people were sending in so many things, and our members were saying, this is brilliant, lots of opportunities. And then we thought that we would have another initiative in which we would provide short stories for our sister organisation, which is the Crime Readers Association, which has 11,500 members. And as it is every month, we send out newsletters to them where we promote our members' books. And we thought we'd give them something a little extra during lockdown. And so authors have been invited to send in original short stories, and they are appearing on it's called the CRA, the THECRA, all one word, .co.uk. And on that website, you'll find a whole lot of original short stories from our member crime writers. And that's what we've been doing.
Very good. Because, I mean, you know, you feel that as well, don't you, Ben? I mean, you've got this festival coming up in November.
Yeah.
And you know, planning this stuff and then having it sort of gradually pulled away, because presumably you haven't cancelled it yet.
I haven't cancelled it, and to be honest, I kind of have seen this sort of creeping up. So whilst I'd scheduled 1 or 2 headline names, I hadn't built the festival properly. It's 10 days in November, and so this year was only going to be the second one. So, but actually, the festival was such an important part of kind of making the bookshop work. You know, so we really need the kind of the financial income more than anything else, and the book sales that come from that to assist with the funding of the shop, which is so I've had to rethink kind of what we're doing, and I've launched a YouTube channel, and only this morning we recorded our first author interview, which featured historian Roger Moorhouse,
fantastic,
interviewing Helen Fry, who wrote The Walls Have Ears, this book. And in fact, Roger will hate me. I need to show Roger's book as well. Roger wrote the first. So it's a history chat, and so I've now got that recorded. I did it on Zoom, and I'm going to post it tomorrow with a sort of top and tail of me talking, and I've got loads of both their books in. So that will, in theory, generate sales. It's very kind of the sort of thing Tring will like. I know that, and I know my crowd. And actually, I really loved what you were saying, Amanda, about about doing something, because I'd love to do maybe a crime week or something, where we perhaps have one crime author interviews another one, then that one interviews another one, so almost like a link each week to last 7 days maybe. So that might be an idea to do in a week's time or something. Which,
well, I've never known a crime writer who doesn't. I mean, you know, we quite like doing stuff like that. Out of the house. Sadly, we're in the house. But yeah, I mean, I think there's all sorts of ways to do it. I mean, virtually we're getting out of the house right now. And that's
well, Actually, well, I did do a stay. I took part in the Stay at Home festival that Clare Macintosh did, and I thought that worked so well.
Yeah.
Obviously, it didn't have the it wasn't the same as a live festival, and it's always lovely to be there with readers and have an audience. But I thought there were certain things that actually worked really well. It was quite nice having the rolling questions that you could refer to and bring into the conversation. It was obviously very accessible. I was obviously only when it finished, I was right by my sofa and my kettle, so that was. But I thought I would like to think that we can, now that we've all had to adapt and experience all these different ways of communicating with each other and with readers, that we actually take a few of those things onwards. It would be nice to see these things continue. What things like that you're doing and that Fiona is doing and Ben as well. So
I do wonder whether with doing online content and you provide it out there, there's going to be a residual follow-on set of sales which could almost match the kind of hit you would get from an event, So it might have just as strong a legs as an actual festival. You never know. I mean, I don't know. So I'm only 7 months into this whole book industry thing. So I'm making it up as I'm going along. Probably more so than anyone else.
I'm putting us back into Dallas format because comments were going right over Amanda's face. But what I really liked from that little snatch, and what I was feeling fantastic, is like I saw a bookseller just reach back and pick a book from a shelf to recommend. Don't you miss that? Do you know what I mean? That's the real thing. Also, it's also amazing to find a bookseller who actually knows where their stock is, but that's always
Can I just ask, there's a couple of questions down here just before they get lost. There's someone called Rosie Veitch saying hello from another Veitch. Hello, Rosie. I don't think we're related.
Rosie's been on. She's a librarian, very brilliant librarian in Cambridgeshire, because I had her talking about libraries. Libraries are doing some really good stuff as well.
Oh, Rosie, look me up on Facebook, Fiona Veitch Smith, and then we can swap Veitch stories. And then someone else wants to see my teddy bear as well, so I'll just get him.
And I know who that is as well.
I want to know what a Veitch story is.
Veitch story. This is Edward.
Oh.
And Edward is 80 years old.
Actually, do you know what? He's looking a little bit like Ben in that shot.
There he is. So it was he was asking Susan, there you go. That's Edward. He's only got one eye. He lost his other eye behind the back of the piano, and about 10 years ago, and we haven't moved the piano since, so we haven't been able to find his eye again. There he is.
Amanda, I am sort of like really conscious of this thing about a launch coming up in July and stuff like that. What are you going to do then? What sort of things do you think you've got coming up? What can you tell us about how we're going to contact with finding out about Storm?
Well, first up, I'm going to exploit every single crime writer I know and get them to know. I think. What am I going to do?
It's not like I didn't get quite a quick terse note from Amanda saying, "Get me on your show." But anyway,
you've been doing these without me. What am I going to do? Realistically, and without wanting to sound too trite, first of all, I'm not going to try and get too wound up about this. The one thing I've learned, sort of 5 books in, that the way to keep Amanda happy is to be quite zen about the publishing industry. And if I start to try and micromanage or even macromanage or do anything, it starts to get a little stressful. So there's not a lot I can do about it. It's slightly out of my hands. But I am going to be hopefully. We've got another friend, William and I, Tammy Cohen, who's got a book out in a couple of weeks, and I'm going to.
Another great writer. She's a great writer as well.
Brilliant. Yeah. And she and I are going to do hopefully a couple of. So I'll interview her for when her book comes out, and vice versa. And I think just a little bit, being a little bit more visible. Sort of be. I mean, I will always interact with any reader that contacts me on Facebook or Twitter. It's the sort of thing, anyone who contacts me, I'll chat to. But I think just being a little bit more visible and a little bit more out there, but actually just chilling out and hoping that, we're all in the same situation. Booksellers, authors, we're all facing the same deal. So you can but hope.
Ben had a friend to show us then.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, no, Milton. A good old Milton. Actually made by my wife.
I don't have a teddy bear.
There's a whole teddy bear.
You didn't get the memo, Amanda.
Strong drink instead.
That's my teddy bear, Will.
For me, Amanda.
There we go. My little mini whiskey by my.
I've got 2 or 3 in the window, so I can make up for all of that.
Rosie says, get in touch with your library and ask what you can do at the moment, because we work with some fantastic authors on Twitter, links for the future, and they have. In Cambridgeshire, they've been doing they do a thing at 2:00 on Twitter every day, talking to different writers, because I've been on it and it was great. It was lovely, actually. There was all sorts of people, and it's really good. And I just think that is, I think the question is, how can we then link that to libraries and bookshops and keep that going? Because we kind of don't, authors don't mind Amazon in the same way bookshops do, but for bookshops it's existential, and I think we need to then get the sales. If we do virtual events, we don't want the click to go straight up to the Amazon bit, do we?
Yeah,
I don't know quite how we work that out, but that's got to be
I definitely always do things like signed books for the local bookshops. And my bookshop, a little bit, as Ben was saying at the beginning, has been there since. So when I live now where I grew up. So that's where I used to, when I was a child, I had my 3 shops that I would visit every time I went into the local town, and it was the bookshop, the pet shop, and the toy shop, and they're in a little triangle, and they're all still there. So I sort of, I'm very fond of them, and I will always do, when a book comes out, do signed books that can be got through them, if that makes sense. So sign some stock, and then tell my readers on various platforms that if they want to contact the bookshop, they can get signed copies that way, which...
Absolutely. I think that's something we can all do, is make sure you've got a really good relationship with whichever local bookshop you really trust. Down in City Books in Hove, I just get on my bike, and every time there's a signed book there, I just get on my bike, go and sign some books for them, and then they go out and they send them out, and that way somebody sees the money that's not that Amazon don't need any more money, really. Do they?
Well, to answer your question about how do you avoid it going to Amazon with online book festivals, Newcastle Noir is this weekend, and of course it's been cancelled, which is Newcastle Library with Newcastle Noir and Forum Bookshops, which is a named bookshop linked to the festival, and they're now going online this weekend. In fact, Newcastle Noir are online having a truncated festival, and what they've done is Forum Bookshop have linked into the festival online, so any book sales then will go to that named bookshop, and someone, obviously, if they want to then go elsewhere themselves, you can't stop them from doing that. But the website is there, the link is there, the plug is at Forum Bookshops are waiting to receive your order right now.
And also Hive, because on Hive you can nominate. I don't know how you feel about that, but Ben, on Hive, you're not. There's a grimace there. Doesn't work for you. Well, I was going to say on Hive you can nominate a local bookshop that gets part of the sale. But
yes, gosh, no. Hive is you've touched a sore point there.
This is interesting.
Yeah,
I'm really not keen on Hive, and I have to say, I'm going to repeat. I'm only in this book industry for 7 months, so I'm sort of feeling my way in there, and I didn't know whether my opinions on Hive were correct. So we have a independent booksellers Facebook page forum where we can all kind of talk to each other, and I just put a comment out there saying, what do you lot think of Hive? Because fundamentally what Hive is our wholesaler selling to our customers,
right?
And that's what they're doing, and keep in mind, I've worked in marketing for 25 years. I've been involved in all sorts of business sectors. If you found the wholesaler missing out the normal supplier and selling direct to customers, honestly, those industries would go into sort of meltdown. So the idea that nobody in the book industry is in any way concerned about that astonishes me. And then if you look at the Hive website, it's very, very independent bookshop friendly. It's incredible. It's almost like they are an independent bookshop. It's almost like they're a consortium of independent bookshops. And it doesn't say anywhere what percentage they give to the bookshops. And so, I've had customers come into the shop recommending I be on Hive. And when I then tell them the percentage that we get, if they are agog, it's 5%. 5% of any book sale would go, instead of, traditionally a bookshop would get, say, 45%. So I've no interest in 5%, frankly. The amount of promotion, if I gave it to Hive, I could in theory lose business because of it.
Right.
So in my mind, I am concerned that their marketing and their positioning of themselves as being the independent bookshop's friend is slightly masked by the fact that the percentage they're giving is so trivial. 5% is not worth the promotion we give them. And I did wonder if I was the only person who felt this. So I put this note out on the Facebook thing to all the independent bookshop owners. unanimously they came back and said, no, we don't like it either.
That's really interesting, and it's fascinating to hear that, because we don't get to hear it. We only see it as a virtuous thing, and also that's the first time anybody's in. This is episode 29, I think, and nobody's ever used the word agog before.
Sorry about that.
We're actually coming up to 40 minutes, and I try and keep them about 30 because I think that's enough of anybody's day to take in, even for such fantastically entertaining people and such brilliant things. So I'm going to call it to halt. I'm going to say, please look at the Financial Times tomorrow, because there's a fantastic review of, hold on, how can I get that right, of this book in there. And it's saying very, very nice things. I just heard about that today, which is sadly been put back, but the ebook is out on July, but I shouldn't say ebook in front of Ben. So the audio book is.
You can say it the best thing.
But anyway, please go, and I insist you buy some books. Anybody in that audience who's been tempted to buy, and you certainly should be tempted to buy. Well, I'll probably go for the Cliff House. Buy one of the Poppy Denby mysteries.
The jazz file.
Do it. Do it from the Grey Bear. Buy from the Grey Bear. That'd be brilliant.
Thank you ever so much. Thank you very much. You're a star.
Bye. Thanks, Will.